I've been using this emotional spiral as kind of like a visual to help people understand the system that I've learned along my path as a means of healing childhood wounds, and not just childhood wounds, but all the wounds that happen in this world of ours. In all relationships, we get misunderstood and wounded. And in order for us to be able to progress and grow and learn and become more, I think, emotionally stable, emotionally mature, more able to react and relate in relationships, I think it's important for us to digest what has happened along the way. And the more we digest and respond appropriately to what has happened along our path, the more we're going to be ready and able to handle the future, and more healthy relationships and more healthy living in our emotions, expressing ourselves with 100% integrity. So it's kind of like this is our goal. You know, our goal is to become 100% authentic. And this is the truth, right? This is about truth. And so up until we reach this as an accomplishment, we're going to find that we're going to have to work our way through all of these. And what I want to speak to in this particular episode is the idea of self-control. Ever since we've been children, ever since we were children, being told to sit still, being told to wait, excuse yourself when entering into a conversation, maybe. I remember those thoughts, remember those ideas. And it's part of our maturity to use self-control. And so it's the same. It doesn't matter how old we are, that what actually matures us in the way of being socialized has a lot to do with self-control. And so it's the same when we come to a more mature emotional state and the ability to hold more mature relationships and to become 100% authentic, truthful, instead of acting. And it's interesting because a lot of what happens is when we have a state of dark emotions, and we're speaking to the things that are at the bottom here, these type of emotions. When we have these type of emotions, a lot of times we don't want to present ourselves to be in these states, and therefore we put on a costume. We become actors, and acting can become a sickness. Acting can become something, a persona can become something that's untrue and lacks integrity. It lacks authenticity, because we may be sad inside, but we're a clown, right? The sad clown. The sad clown speaks to many of us. And the more we live in that costume with the mask, hiding who we truly are, and the less we stay in integrity and authenticity, the more we're living a narcissistic existence. But narcissism comes from wounds. We can't blame, be blamed for our narcissism, but as we have to mature and be able to interact and respond in normal relationships, the more we're kind of responsible for our authenticity and our integrity. And so someone who is deeply, deeply wounded many times hides their wounding, and through the practice of hiding their wounding, they become narcissistic. And depending on how much they need to hide who they really are, the sadness in their clown, the deeper and darker that can become. And what happens is, because these lower frequencies that are down here in this emotional spiral, these darker emotions attract entities, archons, demonic possessions, the things that we do to cover up these darker emotions down here. the more we are attracting demons. Why? Because these emotions are fuel. These emotions are energy to be stolen from us. We are less protected when we're at the bottom of the scale. And it's that deep, dark emotion that the demons love. It's louche. They call it louche. And so whether you agree with the spiritual nature in this, think that you will be able to recognize that for every substance that you may do, every act you do to cover up your authenticity, everything you do to cover up authenticity is actually it has a program. We could call it, let's make it the Matrix. It's a program. There's a program attached to every thing we do to hide who we really are, right? So whether it's a substance to cover up our sadness, or our timidity, we're timid, we're shy. So a lot of times substances will take away our inhibitions and allow us to be more who we really are. But that substance is a temporary patch on who we really are, okay? Really, we're sad because we have not been able to fully alchemize what's happened in our life. We haven't been able to process the things. We haven't been allowed to. And we don't really know how to. And you have to say that when you go to see a counselor, you go to see a professional a lot of times, that professional, although they're trained for it, they're at a great disadvantage because we're going to use these same programs, whether it's substance or demon possessions. We're going to use these same programs to, even with our counselor, the person that we ask to help us. That's why I believe that self-help is really the core. It's really what God divine or love or let's say our true higher self wants from us. Our true higher self wants us to deal with it really, and not put the responsibility on someone else, which is can be an excuse, right? You can see that if you don't heal and you're still damaged and unwilling to heal or unable to heal, we can blame a professional, right? So that's why really self-help is actually probably the best way to go. And so I've been going over the different aspects of this emotional spiral for you and trying to connect it to what I have learned. And our actual goal is to become, work on our self-love, which is here in the middle. And then that self-love, as we get good at that, it's a muscle. Do you understand the idea of self-love? It's a muscle that you build. As you gain both momentum and self-confidence, you'll gain better ways to self-love. It's a way of evaluating every conversation you have. Every relationship in your life is a self-love act. Is this good for me? Is this not good for me? It's a way of evaluating the substance we use to hide who we really are. It's a way of saying, is this good for me or is this not good for me? And if you want to truly become in integrity, if you want to be 100% integrity, if you want to be authentic, you need to deal with all the things that bring about these lower frequencies, because these lower frequencies are draining you. These lower frequencies is what these demons, these archons, these jinns, these devils, these programs, they use that to steal from you. That's why you feel drained. That's why you lack the energy to get up and face another day. And the more you are emotionally unable to deal with the truth of what's going on in your life, negative self-talk, huge. It's a huge thing. It's huge. Blaming others or taking blame. See, this is blaming others lacks integrity, doesn't it? Because ultimately you can't blame others for what you do. That's the whole thing about transitioning from being innocent and a childlike and coming an adult, where you all of a sudden have to take You have to take responsibility for what you do in the physical world. It's the same. And so I want to go back to the idea that what this episode is about is practicing what we started, and that is self-control. So it is self-control that will ultimately cause you to decide that you got to take the bull by the horns, and you need to take charge of your healing process. Stop giving that away to others. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to counseling. I'm not a professional. I'm my own doctor. I am a self-healer. I believe in self-healing. I believe in self-love starts with loving myself enough to heal. Self-love starts there, doesn't it? And then self-love, once you start your elevation on healing yourself, you start to examine the effects of everything in your world. The things that debilitate you, the things that take life from you, the things that the people that affect you, being able to evaluate the people that you sit with, that you associate with, and deciding, honestly, are you in authenticity, are they good for you? Or is it an escape? Do they help you escape, or do they help you heal? And it's not that it's their job to help you heal. It's your job to heal thyself. That has to do with diet. That has to do with your environment. Is your environment toxic? And that means people. That means relationships. That means habits. Is your environment safe? Is it healthy? Is it loving of self? In the environment you're in, is it good for yourself? If you truly cared about yourself, would you allow this to be your environment? And so it's a part about evaluating, finding the self-control to evaluate every relationship, every person you talk to. And if it's a new person, then you need to evaluate them, whether you want to allow them in or whether you want to keep them out. You meet somebody at a store, do you decide to invite them into your life, or do you decide that, I don't think that's a good idea? Okay? When you're in public and you're around other people, and you need to learn to evaluate who you associate with, it's good for you, it's good for your business to evaluate these things. It's good for your prosperity. Do these people help you build you up, or do they tear you down? Do they discourage you or encourage you? Do they give you love and energy? Share their loving energy with you, or are they taking from you? They're removing your energy. It is a self-love responsibility, then, to use self-control in the way you start to organize your life. Self-control when it comes to all these healing processes and working on all these symptoms of hatred. How is hatred a symptom? Well, obviously, if you have the idea of hatred towards something or somebody, there's a lesson that was involved in that made you become that emotion. And therefore, that emotion is a symptom. It's a symptom. When you feel that towards somebody or something, or some, lifestyle, or some social group, maybe even, then there's a lesson attached to that hatred, and therefore it's worthy of your time and self-control. Self-control is the subject, to basically decide why it is you feel that way and explore that. What is an appropriate way to remove the hatred? How can you remove the hatred? What do you have to do? Whether it's disassociation and boundaries. Maybe these people are not good for you, but it's still not healthy to hate, because hating puts you down in this energy where the vampires and the leeches, the things that leech your energy, come from things like hatred, right? So the next lesson to learn is, as you're growing, as you're using self-control, learning your lessons about hatred and who you hate, we're learning about fear and what you're afraid of, and then having the self-control to control that. In other words, being able to be mature and decide that it's not good for you to express, to be in that energy of hatred or fear. Not good for you. It removes your energy. It gives your energy away willingly. And therefore, it takes self-control to no longer allow that. And you're not going to do it perfect. Believe me, it's not going to happen right away. It's going to creep up. But self-control, just like self-love and authenticity, these are all muscles, right? These are muscles that you build. You build your self-love as you get the tools and the equipment and the knowledge and the wisdom how to be more self-loving towards yourself in your food that you eat, into the things you consume, into the things you use for escape, into relationships, into your habits. Self-love is a muscle you build. And so then along with self-love, you have to have self-control. And that self-control has to do with eliminating boredom, fear, pessimism, hatred, failure, all these types of things that plague you. The negative self-talk. How do you end that? Well, first of all, self-talk is one that we all fight with. And I must say that it is a real test of your self-control. Because the first thing about self-talk is recognizing it. And there's a lot of tricks I think I've showed you before. You can put a rubber band around your wrist, and when you notice self-talk, snap that rubber band on your wrist so that it's, just a little sting. So there's different tricks you can learn to help you with self-control. When you feel an emotion of hate or fear, give yourself a little snap. What it does is it connects your recognition. It connects your recognition with a title, a category. And so the next step for you in your healing process, as you're doing this healing, you're finding the lesson. You're finding what you're angry about or what you're hateful towards, recognizing that. What's the lesson you learn? And then be grateful for the lesson. See, finding the lesson gives you a reason to be grateful. Do you get that? Once you recognize what you were supposed to learn, then you go, oh, that's what that was there for. That's what the symptom is there for. That's what the work, when you do the work, the great work of alchemizing and balancing your life, when you balance each one of these, and this is like your history. You have to go back in your history. You make a list of names from your history. Just make a random list of names from your history. A random list. Just write them down, all the people you know. Make a list. Keep that list. Put it in your journal. All the people you know. When you meet a new person, add that name. And then go down that list and recognize the emotion connected to the name. And then use that emotion to cause an education. Use the emotion to trigger research into what is it about that person that makes me feel that way. Find the lesson in that emotion. Take the gratitude, forgive whatever it is that caused that emotion. Be grateful because it's a lesson. Then be forgiving for what caused the lesson. And that's alchemy, you see. So it's going to take self-control now, add self-control to that, because self-control now is your way of strengthening the muscles of self-love, of authenticity, of integrity, and it is your reasoning for being able to remove the mask, the things that are narcissistic. As you learn the lesson and alchemize, it's nothing, you should not be insulted when someone says you're acting or you're a narcissist or you're acting narcissistic. It is an evolutionary stage. Narcissism is an evolutionary stage, and you should be grateful to it because it is going to be your greatest learning. It'll become your greatest lessons. And especially when you're in company of authentic people, when you're around people who have integrity and they mirror to you that you are narcissistic, you should be grateful for that. And then that should be a reason why you need to alchemize your life. You need to put your life in balance. Okay, why? Why is it I'm narcissistic? What are the symptoms of narcissism? Do that research. I don't have to tell you those. Do the research. The inability to accept responsibility is one. I'll give you that one. Okay. So you can see that inability to accept responsibility for what you have done is in the exact opposite of integrity, isn't it? It's exact opposite of authenticity. So you can pretend to have all these emotions. These are things you can act. You can act like you're peaceful. You can act like you're self-loving. You can act like you're a most amazingly forgiving person. You can act all these things. It's an act. But until these are true about you, until these actually describe who you really are when you're sitting at home and you're alone, sitting in a corner in your bedroom crying because your day didn't go so well, and you're down in these lower vibrations, you're down here in these lower vibrations, that's the real you. And then you add substance to this, which with a program that substance lets you use, a programming that when you have alcohol, you start to feel more open, more willing to say what's on your mind, what's really on your mind, like, I hate you. Duh, I hate you. And you lack the self-control. Do you see that? You lack the self-control to know that that's not a very kind thing to say to somebody. It may be true, but do you understand that the hatred is on you? It's an energy you send into the ether, but you're also responsible for that energy. Do you get that? Especially if that person is, in their authenticity. It's an authentic person and you hate them. You hate them maybe for the truth that they tell you, as an example. And they're being innocent and in authenticity and you're hateful of them. There's something wrong with that picture. And it doesn't necessarily point to the person who's authentic, does it? It doesn't point to the person who is truthful, does it? It doesn't point to someone who is 100% in integrity. Not that anybody can achieve that every day. We all struggle with these things. So the more you build this side of the scale to become 100% in integrity, the less narcissistic you're behaving. And believe me, narcissism is a demon. It is a demon. It's a jinn. It is a program. It's a program of somebody who refuses to take responsibility for the behavior they're involved in. That's probably one of the bigger ones. There's a lot of it's a good research. Take the time for your own health to learn, as if you're dealing with somebody narcissistic in your life. Do the research on YouTube or otherwise. Find out what are the symptoms of narcissism. Okay, and then you can start to understand the program. Why is it research why is somebody narcissistic? Why does somebody pretend to be something they're not? Why does somebody wear a mask? So then, as you start to build the muscles of self-control, your self-control allows you to sit still in church, allows you to not talk during a movie in a theater. It also gives you the strength to not call somebody a nasty thing because you feel that way towards them. Instead, you're recognizing that nasty thing you feel towards them, it's you that's feeling that. And it's for you to do the research and heal that, because a truly balanced, unconditionally loving person filled with self-love and dignity and integrity and authenticity, this person doesn't deserve you calling them nasty names, and this person also can shield themselves because they're protected, divinely protected by their energy. Divinely protected, these people, the people that are centered in both sides of this scale, both sides. Their shield, this is divine protection. This is divine protection, these energies. It may not stop a bullet until you become Neo in the Matrix, but This energy, I believe, this energy can change the direction of storm, can change the direction of energy. When you get to be in integrity and unconditionally loving, you have the ability with your mind to bend energy. You can move storms. You can change the direction of storms. You can change the direction of energy. And you also have the power to allow the flow of somebody's nastiness just basically go around you. It misses you. Do you see that? Which eventually could become the bullet. Maybe it affects the aim. It's the power of our mind. But in order to be able to fully control that in self-control, the mind, which is part of magic, is the ability to control the mind. When you can control the mind, your life becomes magical. Your life truly becomes magical. You can decide on the path ahead of you with great predictability. And you can create from nothing because you learn how it all works. You learn how to capture it first in thought, and then you start to take steps towards it as you continuously develop it. You're developing it. You're building it from scratch in your mind, step by step. And those steps that you go through in your mind actually become the steps that you practice in your forward movement. Do you get that? That's how you create. That's how we are creators. And that also happens in a relationship about building life, creating life. Two people come together and they both love each other so much that they wish that they had a replica of that love. And that replica of that love is the innocence that's born. And that idea of that replica is a co-creation between two people who share their love for each other. Do you get that? It's really easy. It's so simple. It's like when it comes to you in an idea or a download, it's like, duh. It's why I call it gnosis. It's gnosis. Because we really already know this. It needs to be reawakened in us. And the better we are at clearing all of this nastiness down here and rising above this nasty energy, it's not really nasty. It's dark because it's ignorant. So when you're in this energy, you're ignorant. Do you get that? Darkness, it's not evil. You see? Darkness can be innocent too, right? Now, someone can purposely be causing these emotions in somebody else, and that could be considered evil. But they're truly someone who lives in darkness themselves. They're truly ignorant themselves. Because they would find that if they use their energy for good things, they use their frequency, their thoughts, their mind, their energy for good things, they can have this amazing life. They have just as much control over having an amazing life as they do over trying to meddle in other people's lives with their nasty energy. Do you see that? So they're kind of ignorant. And so darkness is where we learn. We learn from darkness. And that's why we shouldn't hate the darkness and we shouldn't be angry at the darkness, because it's like our greatest teacher. It's like, I used to not like going to school. I never really liked school. And those who went to school with me probably have figured that out by now. And that is that I just really didn't like it. It wasn't enlightening for me. School wasn't. It taught me a lot of things about human nature that I didn't like, like bullies. I lived with a lot of bullies growing up. So don't be angry at darkness, and don't equate darkness with evil, because it's not. It's ignorance. So ignorance is not good, right? But ignorance can be changed, you see? Just like the light can change darkness, right? It doesn't matter how much light. You can have a tiny little candle in a room, and it makes all the difference in the world for you, doesn't it? So it doesn't take much to change light, change darkness, I mean. It's easy to change darkness, just with a little bit of positive movement in the right direction. And don't be angry at people who are ignorant. And don't be basically sending the energy that you see them as ignorant. It's not really a kind thing. You should encourage them to learn, encourage them to raise their frequency. That's what we're really here to do. Service to others, right? Service to others, not not blocking others, not degrading others. It's kind of like the lowest thing. I think being jealous or hateful of somebody just because you don't know them is really, they are another you. Do you get that? They're another God like you. I recognize the God in you. Anyway, okay, that's it. Blessings to you all. I hope this helps.